Hey, folks, I am so excited about today's show. I'm hitting myself in the head with my own product here. It's called Spiritual Warfare. And the spiritual warfare, next level spiritual warfare. I believe we're on the verge of taking ground we've never taken. I know the battle is hot for many of you, but I'm telling you, we're taking ground. We're taking ground in every area. I got Dr. Ted Baehr is going to be on the show today. He's going to be talking about the next level warfare in a very practical way, how to make the movies and how to get the projects and how to get your career going in the arts and media entertainment mountain. And it's never been better. You'll hear information today that'll blow your mind. Stuff you never, the Christian market is the strongest market for media right now. I mean, we're at the top of the music charts. We set the pace in Hollywood. You're going to learn about how your dream to maybe write the book or tell the story, or someone in your family that's got this call to get a story out that'll touch millions. You're going to hear the inside secrets. That's going to be Dr. Ted Baehr. He's going to be on in a minute. And I'm going to come back to this. Next level spiritual warfare. Folks, many of you are going through it. By the way, get a hold of this teaching, and it's for your gift of any amount. I'm doing a special right now on this because so many people need to get it. LanceWallnau.com/next level, or call 1-800-910-6349 and get the next level spiritual warfare. And get into today's message with Dr. Ted Baehr. You're going to love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back at the Lance Wallnau Show. Now, we had such a wild show yesterday. I have my son and my son-in-law both went out to an exclusive, I guess it was a special group training.
Masterclass.
It was a masterclass. That's what it was, a masterclass inside Hollywood from directors and producers and writers and various people. And it was put together by a friend of mine, Dr. Ted Baehr. And Ted, of course, is the founder and publisher of Movie Guide. And you guys have been touched by his work and probably didn't know it. I remember when the Chronicles of Narnia came out, and it was on CBS in the 80s, and that was his project. And he's produced hundreds of programs for PBS television and networks. But he breaks down the complexity of the movie world and the entertainment world in Hollywood. And, you know, I'm big on the mountains, and the arts mountain is one that we're going after all the time. But we have a whole new generation of, I believe, Christian talent that needs to be told the inside game. I want to bring Dr. Ted Baehr on the air now. You guys, there he is. Right
well, it's
here.
Great to be with you. I always enjoy being with you. And I have to tell you that Matt and Carl were wonderful. They were terrific in the class. Well, but I want them to make great movies. The point of the class is them to succeed.
Well, the very interesting exercise that you put them through, that my whole audience now, of 100,000 people have now witnessed, is the one page. They had to compress. What is this thing you make them do? Is maybe they're giving away trade secrets here in your training, but they had to do a one-page script, right? And tell a story in one page.
And then act out the scene and direct the scene. And they both turned out to be good actors. They should come out here.
Oh, please. I'm trying to keep them from going there. Don't tell them that.
No, we need them.
Every
day, Lance, I get a report from somebody who's taken the class who's doing absolutely incredibly well. Today, I got a report from a woman. I mean, a lot of these people you wouldn't expect. They're middle-aged. They're from the middle of the country. And she's finished a film. She's written a couple of up TV films. She took the class and she became rich and famous. Now that happens, but she thanked me, but remind me.
One of the lepers returned.
Yeah, they remind me of the lepers. Only one comes back.
One came back. Thank you. Well, I think, and I shouldn't be doing this live on the air, but I think we need to do another one. I could fill that class just with the artists and the people sending me manuscripts and stuff all the time. They need coaching. They need the intensive. They need the boot camp that you do. But we need to record it, Ted. We need to put it into posterity so it becomes a permanent.
We can't do it.
Why can't we do that?
I don't do it because I was head of a department at Berkeley. You remember Berkeley. And I was head of a department at City University, New York. And I've taught a lot of people, and that when you're just speaking at people, they're not learning. So the whole point of this is to help them to learn by getting them to interactive, by meeting the studio heads, by asking questions, by actually learning. So I designed the course for people to be successful. And the people who've taken the course are surprisingly, wonderfully successful.
Well,
one guy in Florida, 17 years trying to make a movie. He took the course, rewrote his script, and Ron Howard gave him a 2-picture deal. And the first picture is still #1 on MGM. So I teach people how to succeed, but I got to work with them. I got to train them. It's like going to a good physical trainer.
My gosh. Thou almost persuadest me to go to Hollywood.
I'd love to have you go. People have to have a drive for wanting to change the world. You know, there are a lot of Christian films. I'm glad, because when we started in '85, there was only one with positive evangelical content. That was Trip to Bountiful. But now there are 400 Christmas movies. But a lot of these movies are mediocre. They don't know how to make movies that succeed. I was with one of the teachers yesterday who's head of the production at the biggest studio in Hollywood, and his movies make $1 billion, and these Christian movies are making $3, $4, $5 million, which is nothing.
Well, what does that tell you? I don't get it. What's the point there? What's he doing that we're not doing?
They don't know how to make movies. They think that they can watch movies and make a movie. There's one of your friends who just had a disaster in Texas, as you know, and he makes movies, but they don't make more than $10, $15, $20 million.
Exactly.
At $10 a ticket, that's 2 million people in a country of 360 million people. It's nothing. And he doesn't want to learn how to make good movies.
Well, we got to fix this. Here's my question. I get questions from the audience here. Ted, what's the biggest misconception Christians have about Hollywood today?
They think that they're anti-Christian, which is just not true.
Oh.
I was at the Netflix party on Tuesday. Ted Sarandos spent a lot of time talking to me and my son, Robbie. They know, they're trying to make films that reach the Christian audience. One of the directors who did a wonderful film, but it needed to be edited down. The whole point of the film is to show that magical thinking doesn't work and you have to get into the real world, which is what we believe as Christians. So these people are trying, and this is the biggest company out there. It's buying Warner Brothers. So Ted Sarandos spent time with us. We went to the Producers Guild. People were calling out, hey, to me, come and talk to us. We're trying to make these films. So there's a big desire to make movies that reach broad audiences, like The Producer yesterday, because they want to make money. And every week, 116 million people go to church, and only about 7 to 12 million people go to movies. And they want the church people to go to movies.
That's numbers. That's facts. What distinguishes a good Christian story from a great commercial film with a Christian, value system?
Listen, you can do a great Christian story that makes a lot of money, like The Passion of the Christ, right?
Right.
You can make $600 million. You can do the best movie last year, made $2 billion, and it was extremely Christian. The message was the joy of the Lord is our strength. $2 billion. The problem is that they don't know Jeopardy. They don't understand plot. They don't understand premise. They don't understand how to make a movie. And they make movies like one of the movies that came out of the group that you and I were talking about when we met last year, that just was redundant in the middle. It lost its Jeopardy in the middle. It became bloated in terms of setting up the scene without understanding how you do it. You always start at it with a bang, not start telling the history of the poor guy who lives in Louisiana, who you know.
Who said you're supposed to be comfortable with your capacity? God didn't say, are you comfortable? He's actually there as the comforter. Why do you think the Holy Ghost is called the comforter? Because of how uncomfortable you're going to get when you start flowing in that which God has for you.
Lance Wallnau has spent decades teaching believers how to recognize spiritual battles most people never see. Because some resistance doesn't come from what you did wrong. It comes from what was never dealt with. Patterns that repeat and struggles that feel heavier than they should be. Pressure that seems to come from nowhere. Next Level Spiritual Warfare confronts the unseen forces that operate through bloodlines, agreements, and spiritual doors, and shows you how to shut them down.
Next level, spiritual warfare. The spiritual warfare that's going to be in your own mind saying, I can't do this, I can't do that, how am I going to do it? Because we're going up, we're going to deal with another level. Hear more accurately, and God will add more and more revelation to plunder your strong man's house.
This teaching was created to help you recognize what you're really fighting and to activate the spiritual authority to break it. You can receive the full message from Lance Wallnau today for your generous gift of any amount at lancewallnau.com/next level or by calling 800-910-6349. Take the next step in shutting down resistance and stepping fully into what God has prepared for you.
Carl, that point seemed to have really came home to you in terms of hooking them in the front end, huh?
Yeah, you need the inciting incident out the gate, basically. You know, you need to tell people why this is important. Where's the conflict? Where's the jeopardy? Why does this matter? Why should I care?
All right, so real quick, just as a theory.
That's why Carl dresses the way he does. He hooks them right from the beginning.
You know, this is actually a fact, ladies and gentlemen, and he hooks
a quick study.
A quick study.
Yeah. That's what you do.
All right, now when I met Matt was dating my daughter. He ended up marrying her. I'm so glad. We prayed him in. I take credit for praying him in.
Did he tell you that I asked him for a picture because I was hoping she didn't look like Carl?
What, did he tell you that?
Yeah.
Well, the beard.
She's absolutely gorgeous.
She is.
Was this a second marriage or something?
No, this is it. This is the first one. And but here's the deal. Matt,
you don't want to do interviews with me because
no. We'll have great ratings on these interviews. So I meet Matt, and of course, you know, my daughter wants me to love him because she's in love with him, and she knows she's my girl. So he got to meet my dad. And when I met Matt, I have a whole different criteria for young men that I love to coach who are dreamers, and the guy who's going to marry my daughter. So she says, and he loves movies, and he was working on a script for Jonah for a movie. It's a big dream of his. And I'm thinking that's great. And then it occurs to me, what if he's like everybody else that can't get a job in Hollywood and my daughter marries a guy who's a dreamer with a script that he can't get done? Well, it ends up he's very talented at what he does. My encouragement to him is he makes commercials for motorcycle companies and stuff. I said, do the films and do the media they pay for. Do a lot of it, because you never know. If you marry my daughter, she might get pregnant, and then she's not going to work. It's all going to be you. Remember my conversation? And that's exactly what, clearly, like a prophet. I'm telling you, like a Jewish prophet. Bam, within 6 months, she's pregnant. She's out of work with the baby. But what do you think about, I wanted to ask you about your movie project, because I know it's a dream of yours.
Yeah.
Well, what did you do? Did you learn anything that applies to your movie vision?
Absolutely. Well, first off, literally the first conversation we had was you telling me what I'm going to have to do when your daughter's pregnant and provide for a family. I need to think forward to my future. And this is our first. It was a conversation.
Oh, it was a terrible. My daughter was so mad. I don't want to make this family therapy, but she didn't want. She was furious. Daddy, why did you interrogate him? I brought him home so you could meet him, not interrogate him. She beat me up so bad.
But no, going back to your first question.
Someday I'll tell you what we do.
Okay. All right. I'll take you up on that. But what did you learn? Did you learn anything?
I actually left thinking and knowing that it's possible to make this dream come true. And not only that, but I think the biggest thing I'll always take away was how succinct story is and how important your words need to be and how the words you choose have such weight. And it made me want to go back and rewrite everything I wrote, because I realized how much fluff or exposition's in there that doesn't need to be in there. And it's like, get to it, cut to it, make sure there's conflict, make sure that there's jeopardy. And so it helped me really develop my character arc, even with Jonah, of like where he needs to go to make this something that somebody who's not even a believer would watch it and go, man, can you believe it that someone could actually survive in the middle of a fish? Or like, man, could you believe it that this person actually went on this crazy adventure? And, so it absolutely inspired me, and I'm ready to go back.
Ted, I had to ask you this question. Young script writers come to you and they say, I want to make a movie that'll change the world. What's the first piece of advice you give them?
Take the class, read the book, learn the craft. Movie making is a craft. You know, in 1923, the IRS asked the movie industry, the incipient new movie industry, did they want to be classified as an art or a business? They said a business. So it is a business. The key to keeping 61,000 people employed at Warner Brothers, beside being bought by Netflix, is to make movies that people want to go see. If you don't make movies that people want to go see, you won't do it. And there's a craft to it. It's like designing and building Noah's Ark. It's like doing your show. It's like learning how to do things with excellence.
All right, so closely related to this, these are unscripted questions, ladies and gentlemen. This is from the team I'm working with. What are the mistakes that Christians make that you see when they're pitching stories or scripts in Hollywood? What are some common blunders the well-meaning Christian makes when they're approaching getting their dream across the finish line?
Well, the biggest mistake is pride. Christians suffer from more pride than people who are making movies.
Wow.
Movies are a collaborative process. You know, from one of my friends produces Dune. He's usually teaching the class. I saw him in Sydney, Australia when he was producing Street Fighter and Dune at the same time. You've got maybe 20, 30,000 people working on a movie, and all of them are contributing. If you try to hold the movie like holding water in your hand and you say, I want to keep it to myself, you're going to open your hand and have no water in it. You've got to be able to cup your hand and realize that everybody participating is adding their costuming, their lighting, all of their expertise, and it's going to be something better than you could do all by yourself.
My gosh, I've never heard that perspective, but it hit me right in the face when you said it. You're right. The pride that doesn't want to collaborate, because we almost subjectively think it's my story or God called me, and then they hold it too tightly, and they actually need someone else to make the modifications that'll make it work.
And they don't realize that if God's in charge, why would you be afraid of the process? Because you're not in charge. If you're trying to be in charge, then God is no longer in charge of what you're doing.
All right, this may seem redundant, but you've reviewed a lot of films, obviously thousands of them for your guide. The stories, what's amazing to me is a great story can have a Christian theme and not even be religious, obviously. And so like Gladiator, I mean, it's the guy's dealing with his ancestral, idols there, and his hand is in the dirt. But the story is like redemption, courage, laying down your life for the sake of someone else. What makes a story truly resonate with the audience, regardless of believer or unbeliever? What's the secret there?
Well, first place, the writer-director, the writer of Gladiator lives near me in Thousand Oaks, and he's a Christian. He's from Minnesota. So,
what?
Come
on!
Represent.
So, I
I
showed them a clip from his movie Rango, which is extremely Christian. So let's get over that point. There are a lot of Christians in Hollywood, and a lot of them that are doing extremely well. But what makes the story successful with the audience is that you're constantly upping the amount of jeopardy and the amount of concern, and you're orchestrating it beautifully.
Has anyone ever succeeded? And here was one of the tests. I don't want to give away all of your secrets here, but I can't believe that you actually asked them to challenge you, to give you a story, tell you something within like a minute or so that'll make you laugh and cry in the same story. Has that ever happened?
Yes. And in fact, Walt Disney said, well, first place, you have to orchestrate it. So you always have to have fear and relief in the same place. So let's say the crying is in Bambi, which is the example I gave to Matt and Carl. In Bambi, his mother gets shot. We're all about to cry. And the next scene is Thumper making a joke. Thumper is the comedian in the movie. Now, why would you do that? Because if you keep it down at a level of crying over Bambi's mother, then you're going to become melodramatic. And that's a lot of Christian films. I'm not going to talk about who are melodramatic. They don't know how to orchestrate their movie.
Amazing. Rapid fire question. Hollywood decision makers, what are they looking for right now?
Money.
Rapid fire answer.
Rapid fire answer. Well, so
I mean, that's what you want to know. They want money, and they got to reach an audience. Hollywood designs movies to reach different audiences, and they know how big those audiences are. Once upon a time, one of the people who went to a group that CNP, and said, we work for the Republican Party and we can make about 5,000 calls a minute to support a candidate. And I went into the head of distribution at Warner Brothers, and he said, we make about 20 million calls within the first 5 minutes. We got a whole building over here of people doing calls. We got a whole bunch of computers over here. So they operate a different scale. If Robert Iger is doing $42 million a year, and their spend on Disney streaming is $60 billion a year, it's a bigger scale than what we work on.
So does that affect the investor scenario? My question I was going to ask is, what funding pathways exist for a great story? And what do investors want to see before they
Anybody
commit?
who invests in movie is like giving money to a homeless man and expecting him to pay you. You don't need to invest in a successful movie, because Hollywood is a bank. And everybody I talked to this week, from Ted Sarandos on down, Hollywood is a bank. If you want to make a movie, you go to Hollywood. You get your money from the bank. The bank supports you. The bank distributes you. The bank makes sure you get the money back. When you get money from a separate source in Louisiana or someplace like that, you're never going to get your money back.
This leads to another kind of strange question, which is the proximity is power. I know that there's a lot of moving away from LA and Hollywood into Atlanta or into Dallas or into other places where
Atlanta's practically dead. And I was with Dan Cathy about a month ago, and he's trying to get business to Atlanta. So there are many reasons that these things die, and movies will be produced anywhere where it's cheap. So my friend who did Dune is producing in Budapest, and he's producing in Sydney, Australia. And when they get too expensive, he'll go someplace else.
But so what's the magic in Hollywood? Is it the fact that you've got a community where people know each other and they can make those connections?
Oh, the heads of the bank are there. It's just like Wall Street. It's the people who are funding, Salem Broadcasting or whatever else. The
Right.
people who are sitting in Wall Street are not making the widgets and the gadgets, but they're directing the money in the directions that they want, which is what you need to keep going.
Interesting. Wow. So if you could wave a
I didn't finish saying, I started saying that studios make movies for different audiences, and then I skipped ahead. But my wife was Argentine, so they make movies for the Spanish-speaking audience. They make movies for the African-American audience, Tyler Perry movies. They make even movies for the Korean audience, which is the 9th biggest market in the world. So they make all these different markets, and they also want to make movies for the big audience, which I showed Matt and Carl the figures on, that they want to make movies for the family audience that represents all these categories together. So we just tell them the church is a big audience. It's about 10 times bigger than what the movie audience is. So you need to reach that audience to get a bigger box office.
Yeah. And my fear is sometimes that audience does get reached, but if you don't have a quality product, you start to burn your market. Because unfortunately, the big budget movies that work set a standard that's very high for a cheap movie. And Christians can make money, evidently, with cheaper movies. So,
the question is about making money. I mean, it used to be that you had to make 2.5 times negative cross to break even. So we look at all the Christian films. They're friends of ours and yours that are making them. If they made 57 million at the box office, and the cost of the movie was 30 million, which it was, I'm not going to name the movie, and then prints and advertising have to be at least 20 to 30 million. That means you've got to clear 100 million to break even. You cannot clear 57 million and say you're making money. This is an illusion, because the first one is the theater takes 50% of the box office. Let's say if the box office was 100 million and the theater takes 50%, then you're left with 50 million. And if your distributor takes 50% of that 50%, you're left with 25 million. And if the prints and advertising take 20 million, you're left to 5 million. You haven't made any money.
So
You don't make money on a $2 million movie making $20 million at the box office.
wow. So I'm getting a real education here, Doctor. So you have to go bigger. But
You have to sell more tickets.
You have to sell more tickets.
And the key to selling more tickets, 60% of the value of a movie is marketing and distribution, which Matt and Carl were good at understanding. You have to Hollywood puts in $60 million or more into marketing and distribution. For instance, if you want to market to Dallas, you've got to reach whatever the big paper is in Dallas. It'll cost you $500,000 for a Friday, $500,000 for Saturday, $300,000. You spend $1 million for the paper, then you got to take all the radio stations and TV stations. So for Dallas, you may be spending $3 to $5 million. An average Hollywood movie releases in 5,000 theaters. You're releasing at least 300 markets. If you multiply that by your $1 to $2 to $3 million per market, plus LA and New York and Chicago, which are much more expensive, you're up to $60 million to $100 million in marketing costs.
Wow. That's sobering. So the Christian market can come out and does come out for certain movies. I think The Sound of Freedom was an interesting experiment. I heard about it because it was being, they were doing interviews about sex trafficking. It was a big, obviously from Epstein on, there's been a big passionate preoccupation of a lot of conspiracy people and Christians. And I listened to, what's his name, Jim Caviezel, and he was being interviewed with Steve Bannon. He
lives right around the corner from me.
Oh, does he? So they were pre-selling the tickets. I said, well, wait a second. This is going to have a certain box office kick in the first week.
Pre-sales is one of the most destructive things to your box office.
And the reason is?
The reason is that church people think if they pay $10 to $12 for a ticket, it's a donation, so they don't have to show up. But theaters survive for the first 2 weeks on selling popcorn. So if you don't show up in the theater and buy popcorn, for instance, I had a friend who was executive vice president of MGM. He bought the biggest theater in Atlanta because he wanted to be in the theater business, which is crazy. He took in a movie, Annie, that got bad reviews. The studio wanted the studio is the distributor, wanted the first 3 weeks with the theater getting nothing. So all the theater would get was their sale of popcorn. If nobody's going to the movie, they're not selling popcorn, they're going into bankruptcy, they can't continue, and he went into bankruptcy. And this happens all the time. The theater needs people. And pre-sales, in fact, the head of Fathom, because Fathom was started by a friend of mine who lives in Denver, probably near the mountain that you're showing in the back of you. And he called me about 2 months ago, and he started Fathom to fill up the Tuesdays. And he says this pre-sales is killing him because the Christians pre-buy the tickets, but they don't show up. Now, what happened, with the movie you're talking about, is then it got interesting reviews. It got a lot of buzz, and people started showing up and buying tickets at the theater, which is what made the difference.
Oh my gosh. So you're right. There was a lot of buzz around the release of the movie and a lot of negative reviews, which created a backlash against the negative reviews. Like, why would you be criticizing a sex trafficking exposure movie? So it created its own cycle. Kind of like the Passion of the
second biggest sex trafficking movie. You know what the biggest was?
What?
Taken.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Liam Neeson. I have
twice as much.
I have a peculiar set of skills that make me very dangerous. I love that line. I have a unique set of skills. All right. Well, gentlemen, do you have any final questions for Dr. Baehr? I already went over 6 minutes on this broadcast. If I was paying TV time, they'd be screaming right now.
I got to go for a walk. You got to cut me out of here.
I'm going to let you go,
Matt,
Doc.
You're not here to go for a walk. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. Only thing I'd say is I definitely would go back. I mean, hopefully again someday. It was such a rewarding, insightful class, and anybody here who wants to be in the industry or who really wants to make a difference and is passionate about it, they should absolutely, go to it and go see it.
Yeah. A couple things come to mind. First and foremost, Dr. Ted, thank you so much for being here and for the amazing opportunity to learn through Movie Guide. It really was a once in a lifetime kind of thing. To know that there might be another one, I don't know, might throw my hat in the ring. But outside of the collaboration of the people that you've mentored in filmmaking, what are some of the elements or the things that kind of lend themselves towards their success down the line?
What lends itself is to continue to develop those relationships in Hollywood with people who want to, I'll put it in another way. I have people who say they go to, let's say, Sony, and Sony doesn't want Christian films. Well, Sony has two divisions, Affirm and Provident, that just do Christian films. So you got to talk to the right people, and then you got to become friends with the right people. And, one of the people I had you teach at the class was the head of the biggest company for a long time. And they produced Lion the Witch. I did the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe on TV. They did the one in film. And the person who's my friend who talked to me 2 months ago called him up and said, I think you didn't give me enough. And he said, you're never going to work in this town again. You got to work with people. You got to be able to friends with people. You can't alienate your staff, and you want them to support you.
Wow. Well, I got to come out. I want to go out to the next master class. I mean,
So insightful. So
I just think it is. Doc, thanks
I'm
so much.
going to adopt those two boys. So they're coming to be adopted in Hollywood.
Oh,
they'll get a job at Movie Guide, and then they'll become famous.
No, my God.
Yes,
stop
you
it.
need some. We're
Stop.
hiring somebody right now.
Oh, my gosh. I'm cutting this interview off now before I end up having my...
Oh, I didn't tell you what I do with my daughter to protect her. I have 3 boys and a girl. When a boy comes over, I'd say to him, can you tell me the 10 Commandments? Usually they get it partially right. And then can you tell me the Beatitudes the next week? If you tell me the Beatitudes, you can step through the door and talk to her in the hallway. And then I keep going up and up and up what they can do. Finally, they either have to come to Christ or they go crazy and they leave.
Your daughter must have some real stories to tell us about what dating was
but
like.
She married a wonderful guy.
Well, that's the secret. That's the reason why we have the process.
Yes.
And that's what's ironic is I said, come on, Matt, I work with the 7 Mountains. I want to see people build their dreams. When it comes to making a living, you've got to be very pragmatic about this. And now I send them off to meet you and start it all over again. Anyway.
Yeah, well, if they want to work for Movie Guide, what else would they do?
No, listen, you make it sound so exciting out there. All right, we're going to bring you back again. I don't want to wear out my welcome. We love you. By the way, people are going to be going to Movie Guide. How do they find out more about you? And I apologize in advance for all the mail you're going to get from people wanting to be in your training. But how do they follow you? And
I know this because we have 82 million families that love us and come to us every day. Every day. So anyway, movieguide.org, movieguide.org. There's nothing as good.
Got it.
There it is.
All right, Dr. Baehr, thank you very much. We always appreciate having your wisdom here on the program. God
Look
bless.
forward to seeing you in March.
I'll see you. Yes, sir. I'll be seeing you soon. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Have a great walk, Doctor.
Bye-bye.
Well, there's only one of him. I'm glad to share him with y'all because he's quite a treasure.
He's a character. Yeah.
And a character. Yeah.
But what's interesting about people that have that's kind of what you're hearing there is if I had to talk about fivefold, I'd say that's more like an apostolic anointing in the Arts Mountain.
Absolutely.
He's carved out a territory there. He's got a cultural platform. He's able to be a statesman with everyone there and still coexist. He doesn't alienate them. He's part of the community. But by the time when you're around people that are apostolic, they put faith in you for things. And so he's being given a real tough call there. It's hard. It's this, it's that, it's then the money is, it's the popcorn you got to sell. But yet it's almost like, come on out and do it. And it's almost like, I want to go to the mission field. You want to go take off and go to the mission field. He isn't making it sound romantic, but there's something romantic in the call.
Yeah.
Because you feel like, I think I might be able to make it.
Well, even to that point, a number of the professionals that he brought in basically told us, if you can make money doing anything else, do something else. But if it's in you to do this, there's nothing as rewarding as doing this.
Yeah.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah.
They basically reinforce, that you better be passionate about this if you're going to run after it. And I think what's also interesting too about
God bless him.
Movie Guide is Dr. Baehr literally said, he removes all they have a base of 70 million, I think they said. So a lot of people, they review movies, and it's important for even secular people to get positive reviews from Movie Guide. So of course he has people schmoozing them and trying to get, but they stay true to their word. They have a rating system and they honor God, and that's what's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks, I have to land the plane. They're sending me messages here on my teleprompter. Close out the show. All right, so what time is it? All right, it's time. I got to do it. I got another hour's worth of broadcasting here. I'm going to be teaching on, he came to set us free, deliverance and spiritual warfare. And I think that the question I was going to ask him, and I'll save it. These are good questions. I'm going to ask him next time is, Ted, if Jesus were releasing films today, what kinds of stories would he be telling? So if Jesus was, running a studio, what kind of stories would he be telling? And it wouldn't all be about him, because that's just one story. That's the story. But what's the other stories? What do you think he'd say?
I mean, he always spoke in parables, as it talks about in Matthew. So you think that it wouldn't be so straightforward. It would be clever.
It'd be a parable that pulls you in.
Mm-hmm. I think another part of it, and we didn't get to really go into this, but the distinction between old Disney stories and new Disney stories. Old Disney stories were all about personal transformation. It was about the Cinderella becoming the princess.
That's right.
It was about the beast actually becoming the prince. Whereas nowadays, a lot of these stories are about everyone in the world has to accept you for who you are. So I think with those parables and that story of personal transformation, I think that would be a big chunk of what Jesus is putting out. But that's just my own conjecture.
Yeah, I think that would be tapping into the zeitgeist of the time. But being who you are uniquely and having the courage to be different than what people are trying to make you is a lot of what that transformation theme is. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed. And I think almost all hero stories have that element of defying the convention and being real.
Yeah, and there needs to be an element of personal sacrifice. That's part of what is the jeopardy and the conflict of the story, is being willing to sacrifice whatever that thing is that you're holding up.
There's so much in this, and and I didn't know that the writer of the Gladiator is. See what I mean? I'm how many years have I been using Gladiator stories to illustrate what I'm preaching?
When did it come out? 25 years.
25 years I've been doing this, people. Anyway, I got to land this plane because I got other work to do. Hope you've enjoyed the show today. And don't forget to go to lancewallnau.com/podcast. I guess you don't miss these in the future, and you could get them on all the platforms that we have them on. So thank you very much, Matt. Thank you very much, Carl.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much to all of you and to Dr. Ted Baehr. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.